Welcome to Fontribute, where we talk about fonts and their attributes. Fontribute. So I'm back again, it's Thomas, and I have Kourosh with me today. I'm very excited to talk about Arabic typeface design, and I was really excited to have Kourosh join me for this episode. He's a regular attendee at Type Thursday at LA, and I think it's going to be really educational and exciting to now study another script language besides Latin script. So we've done the Bulgarian, then we've done Hangul, and now Arabic. Kourosh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Thomas. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, so I asked Kourosh to draw up what would the Arabic translation of Fontribute would be. So that's what you're seeing on the slide right now. So Kourosh, what are we going to talk about today?
So we are diving into the world of Arabic font, script, and a bit of writing system. And we are going to compare Markazi text and the adult sans Arabic. And we are going from there to see what's happening during the session.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So I already see that you've already marked up some of the notes for us to talk about, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. You want to walk us through that?
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. Can we make this a little bit bigger? Okay. Is it good?
Yeah. I see it fine my size.
Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit of Arabic system, writing system. Then we are going through the slides and the things that we have here. It's some sort of introduction. The Arabic script is a writing system used for writing Arabic and several other languages of Asia, Africa, such as Persian, Azerbaijani, Sindhi, Pashto, Urdu, Kurdish, and some other scripts, which they are following the Arabic script writing system to adapt for their language. After the Latin script, it's the most widely used form of alphabetic writing in the modern world. It's written from right to left, as we see here, in a cursive style. Its alphabetic contains 28 letters, but based on the language for non-Arabic speaking country, it changed. For example, for the Persian, we are talking about 32 letters. Depend on a language, the number of characters will change. Today, Afghanistan, Iran, India, Pakistan, and China are the main non-Arabic speaking states using Arabic alphabet to write one or more official languages. In the Arabic, we have several different types of writing, like taliq, sols, riqqa, nastaliq. If I want to make it clear, it's more like a difference between serif and sans serif compared to the black letter or Gothic script. They are following a different static and proportion. And the two principal type of Arabic writing, which developed quite early in the Muslim period, were the Kufic from town of Kufa and the Naskhi or Mecca-Medina script. Kufi is a heavy, bold style, and Naskhi style was the form of very outset or more cursive style form. It was always employed chiefly to writing on papyrus. In a time, it evolved into the many styles and varieties, and became the parent of the modern Arabic writing because of its own legibility. The two typefaces that we are going to talk about today, they both designed based on Naskh script, the second one, and they meant for the body text or typesetting. So technically, we are following a Naskh static and structure. The first one is Markazi, designed by Bornai Zatpana, which is inspired by Tim Holloway's Markazi typeface, initiated by Jerry as a joint University of Reading and Google project. The design direction, she was Fiona Ross. And the Markazi text typeface is a moderated contrast with calligraphy feeling style compared to the adult sans. The Latin typeface was designed by Florian Range. It keeps the spirit with the Arabic counterpart, echoing key design characteristic while being rooted in established Latin traditions. It's an open and clear design with a compact stance and evenly following rhythm. Both Arabic and Latin are available in 4 weights with extended language support suited for print and screen.
That's Great. So a couple. I appreciate all that background. I think it's great to hear all that.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I see the notes about the right, the left, right,
Mm-hmm.
and so let's walk through some of the more specifics of the panel, right, on panel two.
Absolutely.
So the traditional paragram, right? So it sounds like kind of similar to the Latin system. There's a kind of default or kind of ways to represent all the characters.
Exactly. They are just more sampling of, but the see we are seeing here, the things we are seeing here, it's more a traditional pangram, because because in the past, when they were writing, when they were learning calligraphy things, the Arabic the master was, it was a showcase to show the master's ability from their to show the master's ability of the calligraphy. I missed it, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Great. And then I see there's a section for the character set. So you might, you said before cursive. I assume you meant, did you mean in the sense of the idea I'm seeing these letters connect, right? So some of these letters are connecting.
Exactly. Because of the cursive structure, the Arabic, unlike the Latin, it does not have the lowercase or uppercase, but the character will change the shapes based on the neighbor and the positioning in the word. It means some characters, they might have 4 different forms, which is like this folks here, or some of them, they just have 2 forms, which is the isolated and the final form. Based on these things, we can, I believe it's good to move to the other scripts, and then we can talk in detail about the how it works.
Cool.
Yeah, here we have the vowel and marks, then we will talk about it, and the numeral. But the point is, in the Arabic digits, we are reading it from left to right. So the letters is from right to left, and the numeral is from left to right.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, so let's jump to the next slide then.
Okay, yeah, okay. It's a character set that we have here. It is not a complete character set, but if we want to have a functional Arabic, we need all these characters. But based on the language, there might be some changes, some extra things, the positioning of that makes it functional for the Arabic, for the other languages. But these 3 folks here, they are not part of the character set. This is the Lam Aleph, which is the only required ligature for the Arabic script, and the Hamza, which is part of the language to write some words. Basically, they are not part of the character set, but they are necessary to have them to have a functional Arabic font. So based on this, as we mentioned before, some character comes in 4 different forms, which is the initial form, the middle form, the final, and the isolated. And some others, they are just have 2 forms, which is the isolated and the final form. Based on this, we can establish some rule. There is no way in the Arabic to start the word with the middle form. It's always start with the initial form of character. If we see the Arabic, which is started for like a shape like this, it's mean chaos. It's not a functional and it's not right. Or even like this shape. It has to be with initial form, or some sort of the isolated one, which they have the isolated and the final form. So we can start the word with these shapes as well, but not with this or like this. They are not functional, and it's totally chaos.
Yeah. So I remember actually, I think a lot of basically editors, text editors, like in InDesign, for example, what will happen if you copy paste Arabic text in, they will just get a string of isolated forms, right? Which is not the proper way of writing it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's totally wrong. So I don't know why it's happening. Probably based off the operation system, but it's always cursive. It's always character gets connected to each other.
Yeah, based on a grammar of rules, right? That
Exactly,
based
yes.
on initial, middle, or end, right?
Exactly. It doesn't matter which language. It's Persian, Arabic, Urdu, or Kurdish. They are always connected together.
Cool. All right, great. All right, so should we move on to the next slide? I think it actually
Yeah,
demonstrates a
yeah,
little bit more
absolutely.
how this works.
Let me see. Okay. This is the letter B in an initial form, middle, final, and the isolated. And based on this form, we can establish some rule. The middle form, it's always have two joiner on a left and right. The final, it has one joiner from the right side. Initial has one joiner from the left side, and isolated, it doesn't connect at all. And as we see, the space between the characters is pretty much the same as this white space here and here, but depend on a character, sometimes it changes because of the colliding of the position of dots. If I added extra dot here, you see they get connected to each other. So we might change this space sometimes to avoid this colliding part.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so you're dealing with the deal with collisions, right? You actually might loosen the spacing. So, as a basic concept, right, that type still exists in a bounding box like Latin.
So true,
right?
Yeah,
and then there's negative side bearings, right?
Exactly.
That having to be produced, and I assume that's what these purple symbols are representing. Overlap, or
yeah, exactly. That's where the word get connected. Some part of it belongs to the initial form, and the second. Let me clear this. It's mean from here we have an overlap to have this cursive structure. Part of it belongs to the initial, and the second part belong to the middle form.
Cool.
Yeah, and in a traditional like a Naskhi style, the characters, they are not pretty much the same. It's mean the letter middle, sometimes it could be like this, or in the Nastaliq more like it's not totally different, but they are quite different. But in the modern font design typography world, we make them pretty much the same, plus the joiner part.
Yeah. Could you walk me through, maybe you have other, I apologize if you have other slides for this, but since you have this kind of negative side bearing situations, right? You don't in Latin script in Latin type design, right? When we draw our letters, we're very aware of this space is here versus the inner space here. Is there a method or a system you're figuring out that decide, for example, like notice the position here versus here in the isolated, while in this case, right, these seem to be similar to each other, right, on this side, right, but larger next to here. Is this based on a calligraphic tradition or some other formula understanding?
Yeah, exactly. It's based off the calligraphy tradition and the nature of that characters. You know, when we write some word like I don't know, up, which is the water, because we are writing from right to left, we don't add any space in between. So mostly we need this extra white space next to the characters on the right side to avoid the colliding part. So that extra white space, somehow it works as a space, not like the Latin.
Got it.
And the Arabic calligraphy in the past follows a very strict system based on rhombic dots. In a teaching contents, the student job was to simply animate their teacher's mash, which is the guidebook, where each letter's proportion would be accurately drawn. For example, the letter B, it has four different. You can put the four different dots, same dots, that shows the right proportion for this font, but for this character. But based on the script, it might change. For Nastaliq, for example, you have like a keshide, with extended B, it can be as long as the 7 dots.
Yeah.
So it comes totally from the tradition of the Arabic calligraphy system.
Is it fair to say that that's these the dots on the bottom that make this a bear? Would that be a similar reference point, or would that give
Exactly, it's the
a certain
similar
measurement?
reference point. Yes, but in a modern world, we are not totally following the tradition, because sometimes we are designing font. The font, it's a bit different with the calligraphy. Still, it's accurate, but in some based on the need for the fonts, it might be different. So if you want to have like a condensed Arabic style thing, so it's something new. You don't follow the tradition. Otherwise, yes.
Cool. So last thing, I recall these are called teeth, right? A translation for that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, could you walk? That seems like a very important aspect of the design system. I should maybe if other slides talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. We have a slide. We can get to look at it more closely.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So here is that's the initial, middle, final form in a different characters. That just to show the space and how they can get connected from these parts, and the isolated form. And that's it. We had this before. If you want to more information, we can talk about it. Otherwise, we can go forward to see what's going on in these two typefaces.
Well, actually, a quick note. I think it's interesting that the Aleph, in this case, right? It's not. I guess normally people would expect it would just be a vertical bar, right? Well,
Okay,
I think that's people would expect. I think it's people. I think non-natives would think that. Is there a reasoning for the?
Yes, yes and no. The yes is the descending diagonal for the calligraphy in Nasl style. It's more like this Aleph that Borna did for the Markazi, which is not quite straight. But in the modern world, as we talked about it, we don't follow like the traditional. You might have a straight Aleph, which is the other sans does. So in the tradition, based on tradition, it has to be descending diagonally to the left. But in the modern world, no, we can have it straight as well.
Cool. All right, great. Yeah, we can move on.
Sure. Okay. We have the vowel. We will talk about it for sure. Sometimes they come as a single mark, and sometimes they come as a mark to mark, which is mark plus something else, which is this mark is shadda. Somehow, when you put it on a word, it's emphasized on that character with the zammatan that makes sound like a O. This guy is kasra, which is the sound of a. For like, if you have an aleph with the kasra and below, it makes it a, or you have it on the top, it makes it a, or you have it with zamme, it makes it o. And based on the word and the language you followed, the writing system, we have different marks. For example, for Persian, we just have these three, and with the Arabic and shadda as well. But for the Arabic, you have some sort of different marks.
Cool.
Okay, and what happened?
Oh, I know, like that panel gets weird. Yeah, do one more time, you should be okay.
Okay, let me see. Okay, and here is the vowel that they can sit top or bottom of the character. As we said, sometimes as a single mark and sometimes as a mark to mark. And because of this, we need more leading compared to the Latin. Because of this, it comes really down to the leading part. If you want to have like a 2 sentences, 2 lines, it gets really tight. So we needed more leading to avoid that colliding part.
Yeah. You can even see it in is this the gem, I believe?
Yeah, this is the letter gem, but it's not necessary to have this form. I just added to show how they can sit the marks, top or bottom the words. This is letter gem, and in a final form, isolated, middle, and the initial.
Yeah.
And
great.
This is letter dam, lam, and this is letter vav, which is some sort of O in English. This is letter Sin, which is S. This is Dal, letter D, and the B, which is letter B.
Great. I was just commenting on the descender length, right? Basically, kind of similar to the vocalizations, right? The gene basically goes it goes very far down, right? So therefore,
Yeah, exactly.
the letting concerns are significant for Arabic. Cool.
Yeah, this is not the only one. You have letter Ain, which is some sort of, let me make this clear, which is kind of like this shape. They have it like a similar part, which is that belly on the bottom, but the head is different. Letter N, it's following the same structure. If it comes with the vowel, it's going really, it occupied a lot of space.
Cool. Okay. All right, great. We can move on. We can do next slide.
Yeah, okay. So, okay. Let's get into the font design and how Azza Alameddin, she designed the adult sans, and the Borna Markazi approach their proportion, static, and their font. They both following the traditional pen stroke, but I mean the pen stroke angle, but they are not quite loyal to the tradition. For example, in letter Dal, pen after this horizontal, it's little bit goes up, which is the ending of the stroke of the nib, which more like what we have here in Markazi. But letter Re in adult sans, it follows the total tradition. It goes up and drives up, but we don't have it here in the Markazi. So technically, we could redraw this like this. It has to be like this and avoid this part. Is not wrong, but it seems that Borna decided to have the ending, and the Azza decided to not have it. So it's mean they are not following the tradition, but at the same time, it's totally right to do like things like this, to have a different like a feeling and approach for your font design. Cool. Adult sans compared to the Markazi, it has a more like a X-high feeling. That's what I'm get from the font, probably because it's been designed after the adult sans, which is a Type Together's font by Veronica and Jose. And the Markazi, it doesn't have that X-high feeling, but the adult sans has it. And the diagonal in Markazi, it's descending to the left, which is in the adult sans totally right.
Quick question: Is the adult sans, is it wider on the top than on the bottom, or is that just my eye just playing tricks on
No. That's the way it works, just to illuminate the darkness and showing the right static of proportion of the font. The Markazi is following the same rule, but they have a little bit different.
Oh, cool. Okay, so cool. So they're both tapering at the baseline.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay.
And like the Latin, at the connection, at the joint part, the stroke, it's get little bit thinner to avoid the darkness, which we have it here. But yeah, let me explain this. I believe that because Tim Holloway's personal taste, this part, it does not get connected. We can see this in Adobe Arabic as well, which is Tom Holloway's font design too. Basically, it has to be like this. What we have here, it's some sort of personal approach. So it's not wrong. It's not wrong, but it's better to be connected.
Okay.
And what we have here, letter He in adult sans, this like a white space in letter He, it comes totally. It comes from the Reqa script. It's not the. It doesn't have a nature of the Nasq. The Nasq He is more like this. So it's mean you can combine a different type of writing style if you want to make something new. It's not wrong, but you can add it. And we will see it more in these two samples.
Cool. By the way, one thing I'm seeing, there's a kind of flatness I'm seeing in this example. Right?
Yes.
Right. Versus I'm feeling a little more roundness, especially specifically, right, this bag connection right here. Yeah, is that a what's the
Yeah,
thinking behind that?
yeah, I believe it's a modern approach. In it, not the modern approach. In the Nasri calligraphy, you see more like this roundness, but not this round. It's more like a flatted, but the extended is little bit shorter. You are not able to see that it's totally flat. But yeah, you in some fonts you will see this straight line, which Borna or Tim Holloway decided to have it. Let's say Borna, and in the adult sans, it's more like a bounding up, which is totally right. But it helps to have a more white space compared to the Markazi. For example, in this part, compared to the white we have here, or this white space compared what to we have here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have a different approach, and it's absolutely right.
Yeah, I would imagine that kind of roundness versus flatness with it. Because part of the thing we do here is just kind of make some evaluations of what's the text setting gonna look like when this gets the text.
Exactly.
I kind of know this seems more bound. This is gonna be a little more rounder, organic, or bouncy compared to this approach. Maybe.
Exactly. I believe in Markazi, after the typesetting, you will be able to see like a strong horizontal line, but in the other sense, no. This roundness, it makes it more organic, I believe.
Cool. Cool.
And what we have here, what else?
Well, contrast too, right? In the sense that I'm sensing this is looks like this one, the Miyazaki is going to be higher contrast compared to what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Adult sans.
Exactly. You know, technically in the Arabic, you have a same thickness here and the here, or like a here and there. But mostly on a baseline, you make it a little bit thinner to avoid the darkness of the horizontal line. You know, it's not like the Devanagari script to have that strong horizontal line on the top. Arabic is the same, but with some sort of avoid that darkness. And the Markazi text compared to adult sans, it's more like a traditional style, because the nature of the nibs, if we're doing the calligraphy, it goes up here at this space. You don't write it with the full nib. It has to be 3/4. And you have a full nib here. So that's why it's a little bit thinner on the left side. But the Aza, the contrast is like a more modern, and she's following the same thickness. It's not the same, but pretty much the same.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
Okay, so
next slide.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me get back to the last one, then we will move forward.
Okay, sure.
You know, Arabic is not like Latin. If you want to design an Arabic font, certainly I insist we have to design a word, which when I'm doing it personally, I'll go with the abjad, which is the traditional form. When you have this word, because of the cursive structure, design it separate character like a Latin. Design the I and borrow that stem to design a H. It doesn't work for Arabic. You have to go with the word. When you are doing it, you have the right thickness, proportion, everything, the natural movement of the nib or the pen to have a proper font. So after abjad, we are going to the hoti. But when we design abjad and hoti, pretty much we have anything we want to extend it to the whole family, which is letter he, initial form, ta, and letter ye in a final form. But Arabic is like a Latin. You can borrow some parts from the other part of the character to design a new one. For example, this stem on the top is pretty much like what we have here. And Borna decided to have like some sort of ink trap feeling to avoid the darkness. And we have a same approach here by having a more thickness on the top and a thinner on the bottom. And what we have here, what more? In another word, we have this kind of like a things. It's in Arabic, if I'm not mistaken, it's called tarwiz. It's some sort of the serif thing, but it does not function as a serif. Borna decided just to have it here and in a lam alif, if I'm not mistaken, which can be added here. But in the traditional way, you can have it here as well.
Mm-hmm.
In an initial lam too. So we just can see it here. And the little meme is quite a bit modern approach, because in the Naskhi style calligraphy, you don't see this white space. The counterpart is more tighter. So they did this to have like a more uniformity for all the characters that comes before, after these words.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, are we good or we have to move on?
Well, no, just let's see. I mean, could you walk me, because I don't want to call these ascenders per se, or kind of ascending spaces, but you did talk about kind of the X height feeling, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk through the positioning height, the height positions of all these elements?
Yeah, we have a slide for that. In Arabic, it's not like a Latin just to have an X high and go from there. We have some sort of different middle line. You see, if we have with this line, the letterhead, they are not following the same like a width compared to each other. Or for example, here, yeah, you see, they are not the same. These middle lines, you can categorize different letters based on that middle line, which is some sort of new approach, I believe, because in the calligraphic style, you have a ligature for everything. And when you are writing your hand, you are able to do different things. And we should remember, in the calligraphic style, we don't write in a baseline. Sometimes when the next word, it can goes little bit higher. For example, in Nastaliq, it might, you have a line sentences like this, and this is your last word. So this kind of approach is a modern typography things that came from the metal type, I believe. Yeah. But today's with the contextual and all the new technologies, we are able to do different things. So what else we have here?
Well, let's check it out. Let's go to the other slide.
Yeah, we can do, and we can talk about a little bit of this. You see, because of the calligraphic that Borna applied to his work, you see the thickness, it's when it goes up, it's a little bit thinner. But in the adult sense, it's not that thin. Because of the contrast of she's following for the whole character design, that what she had here too, compared this to that. So we will see it in a different places.
All right, cool. So let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, sure. And this is another word, which is safas. And these tools, it's some sort of shape like what we have in abjad on letter B. It's pretty much the same, but it's a little bit shorter. And we have a letter Ain, which is totally comes from the source script, because in the Nassau style, you don't have this counterpart. It's pretty much like this.
It's filled in, right?
Yeah. Exactly, it's filled in. They both decided to have this kind of like a counterpart to make it more contemporary, or like a unify the whole character. But in the adult sense, I believe this part is little bit like a broken. It's not more natural. I believe it has to go like little bit more roundness if we want to following the other structure. It's some sort of broken. into my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. As we mentioned before, in the Arabic, you can borrow some part from the other characters. What we have here is totally the same of letter nun, with slightly different in proportion. And what we have here, that what we have in word hoti. This is the counterpart, and this shape is totally the same. Just we don't have that stem on the top.
Yeah, from the top, right, or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the letter, what we have here, and we had this before, and oh, okay.
Of course, like
Yeah.
we could do some comparisons between the two. So, for example, what I'm
Okay.
seeing is his teeth position seems to be slanted in this direction versus it seems a more even approach to these two.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where is that coming from? Is that so where is that coming from?
They both come from the tradition, but as I decided to have it like it's more clear, but the Burna not that clear enough. And I believe another reason is we have a straight line on a baseline for the Markazi. So if you have it like a straight line, you cannot have that angle. But in the adult sense, because of this roundness, I believe you have more space to have this quality.
Cool. So basically there are design principles that apply, right? ACL.
Exactly. It's a design principle.
Cool. Yeah.
So, and what else we have here? This broken part, we will see it here too. Into my eyes, it has to be more round. See, you can see that like a square.
Yeah, basically it's too hard edged. It's
exactly, yeah.
A movement.
So it should be more round like this, I believe.
Or kind of, how about the approach on the other one?
I believe it's totally matched the letter scene. You see, they are following the same principle.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I like it more here compared to that what we have here.
Got it.
But another thing is the position of the dots. You see, in the adult sense, it's a little bit higher from the ending if you want to add the line here. In the Markazi, it's more, it's closer to the edge. So it's not wrong. That's how they decided to have their position of dots. And pretty much what we have here is the same as well. Yeah. And another thing is the difference between the dots itself. What we have here, it's like a rhombic shapes, and it's more like a square in the adult sense. Yeah.
So well, hold on. So one more thing. So you just commented on the spacing, basically the space between the main stroke and the dots. That's systematic and should be consistent. Although not. Yeah, they are. They I mean, is there?
Not really. How can I put it? In the past, in the calligraphy, sometimes they have the calligrapher, because of the aesthetic of what they were written, they could decide to not have the dots for the characters which should comes with the dots. So putting the dots is something modern, or it comes from the tradition of writing Quran, because you have to see the exact word. To mistake it with another word, because in the Arabic and the Farsi, sometimes you have a same word with a different some sort of positioning of dots, which makes them different word. If you don't write them, you might mistaken the meaning of the contents. So it comes from it's a modern things, but in the past you could write some things and not adding the dots in the words. So this applying the space is something new. If you were calligrapher and you were writing like a long distance sentences, if you have the dots here, it makes it more beautiful, and aesthetically more beautiful is not wrong. But this, like having dots specifically on the bottom of the character, it's a totally modern things.
I see.
And, yeah.
So there's more. It was so basically before typographic Arabic removable type, the dots basically were a little more flexible, right?
Yeah, exactly. They were more flexible. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Let's try next slide. Okay, so you have the teeth, kind of the positionings now, starting to point them out.
Yes, exactly.
All right, cool. So what do we see?
What we have here, it's the middle line that we were talking about before. You see in the Arabic, you have a different, like a line. This is the center part, that line. So you can categorize some letter based on that. This is the middle line, and this is the ascender. And same for the adult sans, but in some of the characters, you are not totally following the rule. As you see here in letter C, it's little bit upper compared to that middle line, compared to what we have in Markazi, which is little bit down. Or it's in letter A, it's like it touches the middle line, but we don't have it in Markazi. Mm-hmm. So compared to that middle line, you can decide it to how your fonts might function, I believe. If because of this X height that we see here, everything is little bit goes up, but in the Markazi is not like that. It's little bit more close to the tradition.
Cool.
And okay, good to go?
Yeah, good to go.
Awesome. Okay, we talked about this a little bit, and we can make it more clear. You can adopt some part of the letters to design another one. What we have here is the same what we have here. And this is how you find the right proportion for your font design. Or you see, when you design your abjad, the first word, technically you design these characters as well. Or what we have here, this is isolated letter B. This part could be designed to borrow to design letter Kaf, which is letter K, and Fe, which is letter F, as you see. But they are not pretty much the same. It's a little bit wider. Yeah, exactly, to have a right proportion. Or what we have here is letter Nun, which is N in English, to design the counterpart, the bowl of the letter Sin or Sad or Qaf. And you see it's little bit wider here. Mm-hmm. And little bit tighter here. So basically, if you design this,
it's very similar to, basically you have an M and an N, right? Basically, they borrow similar, but they're not exactly the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, a type designer would basically make your M's are basically these are borrowed from the N, but they're condensed or modified to be more harmonious as a letter M.
Exactly. And
this, next slide. Yeah, where are you?
Yeah, sure. It's the same here. If you have your counterpart, basically you can design letter Mim, Fe, Qaf, and this with this counterpart, it's more like letter Fe. Just I put it here to show the right proportion for the designing letter He. And with this diagonal descending down letter Re, you can design letter Vav. And this belly of letter He is totally the same, the letter Ain. And with the letter Nun, is pretty much the ending is the same with letter Ye. What else we have? If you design letter Mim, the initial form, technically you have middle, final, and isolated as well. Mm-hmm. It's applied for letter Kaf and letter He as well. You just need to design this head and the counterpart and adapt it for...
Which I think it's kind of...
Yeah, they are basically the same.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's a little bit not familiar to the non like a native Persian Arabic speaker. It seems so different, but they're pretty much the same.
Okay, cool.
And
Next page.
yeah, the same here. You see these twos of letter B is what we have in letter C with different proportion. And the what we have here is what we had in letter Aleph. And the ain is pretty much the same. The head of the ain is what we have in the isolated form. And you see, you can apply different things. It's just like a Latin type design, not that difference. If you design your horizontal line, your bowl, one counterpart, pretty much you can design pretty much it's the taste of your font. If you have the right proportion and thickness with these three, pretty much you can extend it to have a whole character set.
And apply to the system. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So let's see what else we got. Look.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's a little tricky to find the next page. You got to go all the way back.
Okay.
And then you got to go. Yeah, page 16 in this case.
Page 6. Let me see. How can I go? This is 16?
Well, I can't see your screen. You're going to have to go to.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, it's a lot of slides.
Yeah, you have a lot of slides.
Oh, yeah. We were in the right place. Okay. So what we have here, it's a simple, it says khat nasakh, which is nasakh style script. But in the Latin, they decided to have a serif Latin that goes with the Arabic one. But in the adult sense, which I believe it's like a more close to the Goethe stance, they decided to have like a totally sans style that goes with Arabic.
Yeah.
Which makes it interesting that you can have a sans or sans serif with your Arabic word. Just you need to follow the same thickness, sometimes same X high if you want to apply it to make it match with the Arabic, which is totally right. And as you see, the thickness is pretty much the same. And here you can see more clearly that X high feeling compared to what we have here.
Yeah, you can see. You can see a parity between the Latin and the Arabic, right? The feeling on this versus this feeling. Right?
Exactly. And what else? You see in the Latin one, the descender goes a little bit more high compared what we have here in the Arabic. But in the Marquez, it's not like that. You see, they are pretty much close.
Close, yeah, a little lower, but close.
Yeah, exactly, a little bit lower. So you can have the style what you have, you need, or based on the needs. So it's totally right to do the same.
It seems kind of like this kind of middle. You were calling the middle line, like this one.
Yes.
It seems to be a little lower than the X height, like the X height on the Latin. In comparison.
Exactly, and I believe because that's my feeling. The adult sans Arabic designed after the Latin one, so they tried to make it more compatible with the Latin. But the Markazi, I think they have been designed in the same times, so they just follow the static and the thickness. So that difference comes from the time they designed their character set.
Cool.
And what we have here, it's just an Arabic word. It says that God makes me happy, something like that. I'm not native Arabic, so I don't know the exact meaning. But that shows the Markazi in 4 different weights, which is regular, bold, semi-bold, and what's this one?
Sometimes book is heavier than regular, sometimes it's lighter than regular.
Yeah, exactly. But I believe the bold is not enough bold, or maybe the regular, it has to be a little bit narrower, because we don't see a lot difference in the Markazi. compare what we will see in the adult sans.
Okay, let's check that out.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that's how Borna made the
Okay.
bold style. Technically, you have the regular weight, and the bold one, it goes all the way around from all different directions. Okay, and in letter B, it's get little bit wider and of course thicker. But in the adult sans, you see the light one, the ultra light one, compared to the heavy one, it's you have a wide range to do typesetting. It's more, I don't want to say like it works better, but it gives you more range to design, to lay out what you need. And she applied a different approach to design the bold weight. As you see, this is the light one. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the bold one, it goes in and thicker.
Yeah, it's kind of projecting outward, right?
Exactly. And it's the same here as well. Which I like it better, exactly, compared to this shape. And it's a different approach. They're both right. And I believe this kind of approach gives you more opportunity to design more weights, I believe, compared to what we had in Borna. And the difference comes from this. Let me go back.
Yeah, which slide are you at? Which one are you at?
You see, Borna has a little bit wider compared to what we had in the regular weight, right? So it makes the bold line bit lighter compared to the regular weight, okay? But in the adult sans, it's not like that, because she designed it go like inside the bold goes inside. You see the bold is pretty much the same in a different weights. So it means if you set up your type in a regular and the bold weight, pretty much they were occupied the same spaces, which I like it better. Let me see. Yeah, this is the Markazi in the regular weight, adult sans regular. Pretty much you see they have a same, but I made the adult sans little bit, the point size is, I believe, 24 compared to 28, I believe, in the Markazi.
Okay.
The thickness, pretty much they are the same in the typesetting. That's the difference between bold. As you see, the adult sans, it's more darker compared to the Markazi text.
Yeah, a little more aggressive at it. Yeah.
Right. And this is Markazi. Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
It's not aggressive enough, so you actually can't. The typographic color seems very closely related.
Exactly.
The difference, but not that much.
Exactly. But in the adult sans, you see that's the difference. But we have to mention it. This is the ultra thin and heavy.
Yeah, these are definitely probably not meant for these sizes.
Exactly. And as you see, pretty much they occupy the same spaces, which is really good for the typesetting compared to what we have here. It's got more. It's not wrong. It's totally right. But this kind of approach is more practical.
Cool.
And what we have here, okay, punctuation. It's totally look like the Latin. Just the question mark, it follows a different direction because it's written from right to left.
Yeah.
And in the Arabic, we can add more like a punctuation based on the need. But this guy is the Arabic parentheses. We always design this, which is different from the Latin.
Yeah.
And what else? Everything is pretty much the same.
Oh yeah, because the degree of decorativeness appears to be a variation in that, right? Basically, a more simplified version was given into the Adele sans one.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more like a calligraphic or traditional style that we see in metal type, which is more common. And one more thing, I believe some difference comes from the background of the designer. Borna, he's Persian, and the Adel and the Azza, she's a native Lebanese, if I'm not mistaken. So based on the history that both designer had, somehow they apply it to their font.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both graduated from the University of Reading, but what we have here, it's more like a Persian parenthesis compared to what we have here in Azaz, Adel Sans. They're both right, but we see more this in the Persian style.
Cool.
Compared to what we have here.
Hey, Kourosh, just one thing I just noticed. I noticed there's like a rotation or mirror, or yeah, it looks like a rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the comma and the semicolon.
Yeah, it's the. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's all I was about to say.
Yeah, it's because of the direction of the script. It's like a reflected of the what we have in Latin. Pretty much they are the difference and the question mark, and the other thing is they are the same as what we have in Latin. It means if we design like we have a pair for the Arabic or the Latin, you just need to add to change the direction of this and the question mark, and pretty much you have all the quotation, the punctuation that you need.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, cool.
By the way, one quick question. I noticed, so for example, I know there's been a lot of debates. Oh, I've seen debate arguments about, right, these, the dots being triangular or circular, like basically diamond shape or circular, those being kosher, but square is weird. I've heard that commentary made. I've noticed that is the case in this period versus this one's maintaining that rhombus shape in this one, and then for their colons. They switched to a circular form. Is there a reasoning for this, for those variations I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a debate for that, but we should remember the tradition. In the Kufic style, pretty much you have the circle dots. In the Naskhi, you have more like this. This square is something new. It's not wrong. But we have to face it. When you have a round, like a shaped dots, I don't know how to put it. It makes fonts more like a fantasy, I believe, for like a children book. That gives the script that sort of feeling. But
I can understand that, right? Basically switching from a title from a circle form to a square. Right? Is it kind of similar in that sense?
Exactly. It's the similar.
Okay.
But if I was the designer, certainly I would not have this like two dots. I would make it like this shape to make it more match. It's not wrong, but you can apply it for like this kind of taste to make it more compatible. Compare what you have in the script. Okay. And the square, but I think it might be better if Borna designed like a circle shape. That's my feeling.
Okay.
At least make it, yeah. At least it makes it per what we have here.
I see.
Yeah, what we have here, it's like a totally square, and you can match it with the dots in the script, right?
Yeah.
And what else? And here's the difference as well. In the question mark, it's what we have here, but here it's a circle.
Yeah. Versus a continuation on those two.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So we can change that to make it more look like. And cool. That's it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And we have digits. In the Arabic, digits, they are writing from left to right, unlike the script, which is from right to left. And yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, finish it then. Exactly. Yeah, what happened. Yeah. But the Persian, as a Persian, we have a different shape for some numbers, which is letter 4, 5, and 6. This style is a Persian way of writing it, and this is the Arabic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the Urdu, we have two extra things. For letter 4 is some sort of shape like this, and letter 7 is like this. So pretty much the same, just different for sort of like a character shapes that you must design it if you want to have the Arabic like a native writing your font and using your font and the Persian.
Yeah.
And what we have here, I really like it. This number 2, it's more like it's more like handwriting feeling. If you are Persian or Arab native speaker, if you want to write letter 2, that's the way you do it. 2, 3, 4, for example. She decided to have it here to make it more powerful what we have in letter 6, which is really cool. And the letter everything is pretty much the same. And another difference is 0. I like it better in Markazi because you can identify this 0 compared to what we use as a dot. You see, it's pretty much with what we have as a dot. Okay, if you go with the round circle counterpart 0, it's more functional. That's what I'm thinking, at least.
You know what's funny? That's reminding me. There's some numerals for old style, right? For Latin typefaces, where say here's the 1, for example. There's 0 is this very thin hairline circle.
I see.
I'm trying to remember what typeface. I know Freight, which is Revival, right? Kind of quasi-Revival has that. I forgot which other typefaces have that. But there's a variant of the 0, right? Not in the Latin system, that is a kind of perfect circular form. It's usually very thin compared to the main stroke weight.
I see.
Of the typeface. I'm not sure if there's any kind of relationships to these two ideas or not.
It might be. To be honest, I don't know the history, but I found this more functional. It's you can identify this 0 compared to this. Just imagine if you have this 0 in the middle of the sentences.
Exactly. This is depending on more on context.
Exactly.
0. Yeah.
So true. Yes.
By the way, I do want to appreciate your comment a couple of slides before about the nationality influences. So, am I saying correctly is that this seems to be a kind of influenced by the origin of the designer, right, versus the local speaking Arabic. Pointing out.
Yeah, it makes it more like you can cover more range of user by employing the Persian style and the Arabic. That's the only difference. So you have to have them both to cover like a more customer if you want to sell your font. Because if you are native Arabic writing speaker, you want to use this font, not numerals, you will write it like this.
Okay.
If it doesn't support it, it means you are missing something.
Cool. Okay.
And pretty much everything else is the same. And the only difference is letter 5, which is in the Bornas font, it's more like this. And Azza decided to not have that serif like a feeling to make it more pair, but we have here. But the point is you are not using this 5 and that 5 at the same time. So it's just she decided to design it this way.
Cool.
And that's it.
Cool.
That's the
walkthrough. Well, cool. That's awesome. I mean, I actually, so by the way, that commentary I made before about the bounciness versus more rigidness. Yeah, I definitely sense the much more rigidity and the top examples, right, versus the examples here.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, and also your discussion about the kind of the steps of weight is kind of made very clear here by the page I'm seeing.
Yes, exactly. And the thickness, that the range what we have here compared to what we have here, and the position of the marks is always the same. And what else? The diagonal in the Markazi, it's more slanted to the left.
Yeah.
Compared to what we have, it's a straight line. And
the play of contrast too, right? This is more
the contrast too,
typeface, right, versus a more consistent contrast across strokes. Which probably I would imagine justify it being more allowing for this range, right? Or
Yes,
kind of
yes.
similar to sans serif and thinking like that.
Yeah, and it's more like this approach is more contemporary to compare to what we have here. The Markazi, it gives me more traditional taste compared to Adolescence.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it.
Well, Kourosh, thank you so much for walking us through all this. It was very thorough, very intensive, and I think a lot of people learned a lot of great information about designing for Arabic. So thank you so much for being part of the call.
Thanks for the invitation and making all this happen. Thanks to you for having me here. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.